calling our shot in the ACC. I have to put this disclaimer out there. These are not season predictions for specific teams. Now, the storylines of what these shots are going to be could definitely have a large impact on the total win-loss record for your team, but I want to make sure we're clear. Prediction season is still a little bit further on the horizon. It'll be after media days. It'll be once we get closer to the actual games being played. Then we'll start predicting things from this team's going to win this conference, this team's going to do this from a win-loss perspective. These are just shots we're calling, baby. Taking out the bat a little bit, swinging for the fence. I never really played baseball at a competitive level. The kid started throwing the ball, and it was really fast. So I said, let's put on the shoulder pads and a different helmet. Let's go hit some people. So with that being the case, let's jump right into this, man. For Florida State, the shot that I'm calling for them is that DJU has the best season of his entire collegiate career. And this is something we've said a couple of times on different shows, but I want us to firmly take a stance on this right now. If he has the best season of his career, Florida State is playing for an ACC championship. And DJ Uiagalelei, man, he is a polarizing figure because of what he has been since he was a recruit at the high school level, was a five-star cat, gets to Clemson. He's following Trevor Lawrence. Yours truly at that point in time put down a Heisman future on him. Yes, I did that, and I felt pretty good about it. Things went how they went at Clemson. He didn't have the five-star kind of career that he would have liked to have out there in Death Valley, Clemson, South Carolina. With that being said, though, what would the best season of his career look like? Well, so far, his best year has been at Clemson, actually, funny enough. 22 touchdowns, 2,500 yards, 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions with a completion percentage of 62%. And again, this is the same dude now that Clemson fans were like, get Cade Klubnik in there, get DJU out of there. He's not the guy. That stat line I just read you throughout the course of a season was good enough for Clemson to win the ACC. Now, obviously, Cade Klubnik was a spark plug at different points in times. Cade Klubnik lit up the ACC title game. But that stat line I just mentioned was good enough to win the conference. So if he has his best season of his career, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that it's a little bit better than that. I'm not saying he's going to go ahead and throw for 40 touchdowns, but let's go ahead and peg my guy right around 25 touchdowns, 2,800 yards, 5 interceptions, 63% completion percentage. I think that's more than good enough, again, for Florida State to play for the ACC championship. And the reason why I believe that is we look at DJU's best year and we look at what Jordan Travis did last year. The stat lines aren't all that different. Like Jordan Travis had 20 touchdowns passing, 2 interceptions, 2,700 yards, and 64% completion percentage. So about 200 or so yards more. He was pacing to have more touchdowns than DJU through the air, should he have been able to play the whole season. About 3 less interceptions. Completion percentage right about the same as what DJU had in his best year at Clemson. Like, you don't have to light the world on fire to go win the ACC playing quarterback at Florida State. And that's not a knock on the quarterback. I think it's more so a compliment to the way that Florida State plays ball. It is a complementary operation. It is offense, take care of the football, be good situationally, quarterback make good decisions, we're going to run the football, defense, go do your thing. Like, that is how they get down at Florida State. It is not a quarterback-centric, quarterback-driven operation. Now, you still ask a lot of the quarterback schematically, and again, what I just said, to make good decisions, but this is not a situation where you get the JanSport backpack out and say, all right, DJU, carry us. That's not how it is. And so, again, I think DJU has the best season of his career. I think a lot of Twitter trolls are going to have to go delete some of their takes on DJU, and I cannot wait for it. So the shot we're calling there, DJU has the best season of his entire collegiate career. That includes his time at Oregon State. Now, the next shot we're going to call here, I told y'all, we're corking the bat. We're swinging for the fence. We're not saying things just to say it for engagement. Like, I'm telling you this because I believe it's going to happen. I think Cam Ward is going to have a top 5 single season of all time kind of performance in Miami history. Let me rephrase that. Cam Ward, at the end of this season, will have had a top 5 statistical season in the history of Miami Hurricane football, specifically in passing yards. Right now, the quarterback who has had the 5th best single season when it comes to what they've done in total yards throwing the football is Ja'Cory Harris. In 2009, he threw for right around 3,300 yards. Well, Cam Ward, a season ago at Washington State, threw for over 3,700 yards. Now, Washington State and what Shannon Dawson's going to do, I think it'll be a little bit more balanced. I think they still want to throw the football deep. Do not get it twisted, but I think it'll be a little bit more balanced. The season before that, though, Cam Ward threw for 3,200 yards. Y'all, Cam Ward hasn't thrown for less than 3,000 yards in a season since he was a true freshman in 2020 during the COVID era at University of Incarnate Word. All right? They don't even play in a power conference. Like, my man is a walking stat sheet stuffer. I think he's going to have a massive year at Miami, and I think he will be, again, in that top 5 of all-time performances. In passing yards, yes, specifically, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ran it up in a couple of other categories as well. Cam Ward, I've said this many times, he is going to be, I think, one of the best quarterbacks in college football. And I think by him having that kind of season at Miami next year, Miami will also have, I think, the top offense in the ACC. So a little 2-for-1 call your shot here when it comes to Miami and Cam Ward. He has a top 5 statistical season of all time at Miami. And Miami, again, is going to be a top offense in the ACC. If you're pushing back on that, you're saying, hey, all right, I hear you on that, but, like, are we sure Miami's got the juice to do that? Are we sure? Like, we saw them last year, and they kind of struggled at quarterback. And I'm like, yeah, we saw them last year. They were the 2nd best offense in the ACC statistically. And they had a revolving door at quarterback. Like, you were going through Tyler Van Dyke and Emory Williams. Like, you have a much better player now at quarterback. You have, in my opinion, better skill positions to help a guy like Xavier Restrepo with what you did through the portal. I'm excited about Miami. I think the offense will be the best in the ACC. Now, speaking of the ACC, as this is what this whole segment is, Clemson has had a lot of success in the conference over the course of the last few years. Like, Dabo Swinney, man, say what you want about him on TikTok and all that. Like, we had a whole segment on that yesterday. I have no problem with Dabo being cringy. You know what, though? Whether it's Brent Venables or whether it's Wes Goodwin, Dabo Swinney has great defenses. He does. Like, Dabo Swinney's defense in 2024, this upcoming season, I'm calling our shot here, they will have the top defense in the conference. Yet again. So Miami, top offense, Clemson, top defense. Wes Goodwin, yes, they lose some production from last year. They had 49% back from last season's unit that was, I think, the top defense in the country as well, depending on which stat you look at. He brings back Peter Woods. He brings back Barrett Carter. And they have not allowed more than 22 points a game at Clemson, regardless of the DC, regardless of the personnel, since 2013. All right, that's saying something. Like, say what you want about Brent Venables, say what you want about who they've had on that roster, on the defensive line. I understand all that. But to some degree, you got to give Dabo some credit here for fielding a defense like that, whether it comes to what he's doing in the recruiting trail, how they put it together schematically, any way you want to slice it, Dabo Swinney has been the common denominator in their elite defensive play at Clemson. So I believe that Clemson can and will have the top defense in the conference yet again, even with losing half their production from last year's squad. Now, one more shot I want to call here. I lied to you. 2 more shots we want to call here in the ACC. Virginia Tech. Va-Tech just kind of hanging out on the fringe of the ACC conversation. And, you know, we talk about Clemson and Miami and Florida State, and for good reason. Talk about NC State for good reason. Grayson McCall, I think, is going to do big numbers this year. I'm just here to tell you, Virginia Tech will be in the ACC title conversation heading into November. Continuity plus momentum equals confidence. Confident football teams win ball games. Last year, Virginia Tech finished hot. Fighting Brent Pryce won 5 of their last 7. They are number 1 in returning production in the whole country. All right, so a lot of the dudes, most of the dudes that were a part of that hot streak to end the year, they're back. One of those dudes that I'm most excited about to see for an encore this season is Kyron Drones. Kyron Drones was a high-profile quarterback prospect coming out of high school, commits to Baylor, ends up transferring to Va-Tech. He played his best ball at the end of last season. It kind of felt like he got in rhythm and the light bulb went on for him. Leading up to November, their toughest game is at Miami, which it'll be a tough game. I mean, I'm high on Miami. That's been well documented. It's a Friday game, though. Weird things happen on a Friday. Every other game on Virginia Tech's schedule, in my opinion, is extremely manageable. Like, there's very few games there that I will look at Vatech, look at the other side and say, man, I don't know. It's going to take something special today. It's going to take a little bit of something that Virginia Tech hasn't done just yet. I need to see something new from Vatech to get it done. Like, they have everything on the roster to be a one-loss team, assuming Miami is what we are cracking them up to be. They have everything on the roster to be a one-loss team going into November. Now, they host Clemson November 9th. All right, so Clemson's got a roll in there with Enter Sandman blaring. I'm just saying, if they are that one-loss team when they play Clemson, that's going to be a big one for the ACC title race. Do not be surprised in the slightest if Virginia Tech somehow finds themselves on the front doorstep of playing in Charlotte going into that last month of the season. Last one for you here, SMU, man. They're the new kid on the block, right? They won the AAC last year, and good for SMU, man. Raising a lot of money. Those Highland Park pockets are deep, I tell you what, man. Good for them. Welcome to the ACC. Glad to have you here. Y'all, they're not going to miss a beat. They're not. Rhett Lashley and co., they won the AAC last year. How many times have we told y'all, if you got a quarterback, you got a chance? Y'all, they got a quarterback. Preston Stone, I think, is one of the best quarterbacks that nobody in America seems to be talking about, probably in large part because he played in the G5. It's not going to be the case anymore. He is going to announce himself, I believe, at a national level, threw for over 3,000 yards last year, 28 touchdowns and 6 picks. And this offense, too, under Rhett Lashley, like he makes it go. You got a quarterback, and you got a quarterback whisperer. If you have two of those things in college football, you are going to have a chance in nearly every single game. And when you're the new kid on the block, typically how society operates is there's some level of hazing, right? Like we are, I wouldn't say we're pro-hazing, but we understand that hazing is a part of, most circles whenever you find yourself in a new situation. That's not excusing anything that's wild, that's been just borderline abuse and inappropriate when it comes to hazing. We're getting off track here, but my point here is there's zero hazing going on when it comes to SMU and their schedule, their first year in the ACC. None. Like, it is almost as good a schedule as you could ask for as you enter into a power conference. You play Florida State in Dallas. Believe you're at Louisville. Outside of that, like, no Miami, no Clemson, no NC State, no Virginia Tech. It's set up now for SMU to roll in there their first year in the conference. I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if they won 9 football games. I wouldn't. For the reasons I just said. Quarterback play, Rhett Lashley, and then also I love what they've done in the portal combat side of things. They have added 20 transfers with an emphasis on the line of scrimmage. Of those 20 transfers, 5 of them have been on the offensive line. 8 of them have been either a defensive lineman or an edge defender. So, worth noting too, the guys they're grabbing at those positions, they're from schools like Georgia, Ohio State, like power conference big boys. And just because those guys weren't dudes at Georgia or Ohio State doesn't mean they can't still help SMU their first year in the ACC. The point I'm trying to make here is they got quantity, yes. They also got some quality, is my opinion. And I think that's going to translate really well for SMU their first year in the ACC. So to rehash the shots that we're calling here, DJU, his first year at Florida State. Say what you want about Oregon State. Say what you want about Clemson. He's going to have the best year of his career. I didn't even mention this, but he also has the best skill he's ever had around him in his career. He's got the best play caller he's ever had around him in his career. That's going to be massive for him. That's going to make for his best season of his career. Cam Ward will have a top 5 all-time at Miami kind of season this upcoming year. That will translate to Miami having the best offense in the ACC. Who's going to have the best defense in the ACC, you ask? It's going to be Clemson. Why? Because say whatever you want about Dabo Swinney being cringy on TikTok and social media. My guy hasn't had a defense that has allowed more than 22 points a game since 2013. That's not changing this upcoming season. Vatech, they will be in the ACC title discussion, and SMU, they will be in the ACC title discussion heading into November. Important disclaimer there. Wouldn't be surprised if they were in the ACC title discussion when it's all said and done, period. But SMU, they won't miss a beat. I get it. They're a G5 school, new kid on the block. I get it, but the schedule and the pieces they have on this roster, they're going to compete from day one. Pony up tempo. Here we go. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.